Well, to try and keep us somewhat on schedule, why don't we get started? Marilyn, we heard from you not too long ago, so I don't feel so disconnected from what you've been up to and what you're looking at. So does anybody have, if there's no particular preference how we do this, typically they departments start with revenue, but you're such an unusual department that I just look forward to hearing what you want to share with us.
Perfect. Waiting for Dale. Where's Dale?
Okay, there's the revenues.
Oh, that's who's not here. There she is. Okay.
Go ahead, Dale. We don't have much. We didn't do too many changes, but Dale could be explaining better than me, and I'll go over if we need to. Go ahead, Dale.
Well, your biggest change for this year, as it tends to be every year, is your funding for your voucher program. So that was increased from 3307,908 for 2020 to 3335480. You generally take an average of the prior 12 months at that given point, and that becomes our funding point for the following year's budget. Do you want to speak about your vouchers or?
With the vouchers, we are getting a little bit extra, especially with what's going on. We earn an amount per voucher that we have leased up. Prices went up, the fair market, the payment standards, everything went up, and therefore we are earning a little bit more this year. It's all based on how many vouchers we have leased up. Thankfully, we're doing good. We do probably for next year, hopefully gets better and keeps going better every year because we are on top of everything so far.
Yes, good job.
Thanks.
And that's reflected also, we have an increase to our admin revenue that supports the program as well. So that went up from 273, 293 in 2020 is now at 282, 384. We did want to touch on, we did lower the fraud recovery revenue. Marilyn, do you just want to speak on that?
Yes, the fraud recovery, this is an account that tenants or landlords have to pay back the program where things were not reported on timely. For example, if someone started a new job and they did not report it, we give them an option, either you terminate it and you still have to pay, or you can stay in the program and pay the money back. It's a calculation that is made. For example, if their share were supposed to be $500 instead of $100 that they were paying for the whole year, we kind of make them pay that in a monthly base. It depends on the amounts, based on 12 months or based on 24 months. If it's anything higher than certain amounts, it has to be directed through HUD, and then HUD will take care of it. But when it's a small amount, then they have to repay us. Now, due to COVID, we hold on to asking people, whoever was dropping their money, as we do have few of them, will come and drop it, we'll put it in. But we were not mandating it due to the COVID situation. Now that we started, I think the last 2 months, we started asking back again to start paying the amounts. We still have some families that cannot make it. They haven't get their jobs back, so we're not obligating them. But we might have to, at some certain point, extend the repayment agreement and let them pay little by little. Otherwise, if they don't pay, they could lose the assistance. From that, we get 50% gets to the admin part, and the other 50% gets allocated to the HAP, to the Housing Assistance Program.
Right. And I'm just going to pop over to expenses. So our regular contractual increases are in our personnel lines. Overtime is holding steady. 2 people are now getting longevity, Marilyn, for 2021. Sick pay incentive, which is not paid out until February of the following year. So we will not know that number until that point. Your part-time line, we brought down to, for the 17.5 hours for 52 weeks. You have a little bit of money in there for computers at $1,200 versus $2,000 for this year. You did purchase equipment for this year, a laptop, but we were able to apply that to our COVID monies that we received. Your contractual line, this is for your inspections, which will be reflected on the building side. Your telephone and internet is staying the same amount, no increases for printing and postage or office supplies, or your equipments and leases. Your professional dues and meetings, are they doing a lot of them virtually instead, Marilyn?
Yes, we're doing more like the webinars.
Mm-hmm.
They're offering a lot of free ones, so we're taking advantage of that. Hopefully when we get the Section 8 staff assistant, then we could use that to train that staff assistant.
Your rent is a chargeback for the office space that's utilized down on the first floor. Small amount for in-service training. This is your offset for the vouchers that are paid out. So it's the flip side of the revenues that we just looked at previously. Your computer software, is it still called Happy, Marilyn? That amount is staying the same going into 2021. For our employee benefits, we have a slight increase in accordance with the contribution rate change for ERS for New York State retirement. So that's reflected in this line, as well as a slight increase for Social Security, Medicare, workers' comp is holding strong, and that is about sums it up.
So a couple of things I heard in there. That's I'm glad that you were able to get a laptop and have that qualify as a COVID expense. So Marilyn, how was your office operating during COVID? I mean, I guess everybody was home for a while, but you have so many clients that we're still dependent on being able to have their housing. How did you all handle that?
We kind of did everything through the phone, through the online, the drop off. We're managing, we're getting there. We're still with the doors closed, not accepting anyone, but we're all doing everything, virtuals, interviews on the phone. The laptop helps a lot. Myra's working some days from home, but I'm here most of the time, and I try not to be at home too, but yes, well, kind of like myself being here most of the time, taking care of all the papers, scanning the papers, sending it, thanks God to Craig and Christine, they did that log me in system that we could work from home and take care of everything. We also had the cell phones that was covered with the CARE Acts as well, and that helps a lot. Using the cell phones from here, we were able to call people and keep business as usual.
So to clients, do you call clients the residents who have the vouchers, the recipients? Do they normally in pre-COVID world, they would come to your office periodically? Do you still have face-to-face visits with people?
We do not have face-to-face interview with people. We are doing everything online or over the phone. We still have some people who resist to that, but honestly, with HUD giving us the advantage that everything could be done through the phone or through the internet, that would be the new way to do the things, like do everything online or over the phone or drop off the papers or mail it in. We even send the postage so the tenants could put their paperwork in an envelope with the address, with everything, and postage prepaid. But that's been working great. We do have some resistance, but when we explain to them, like, listen, we're all trying to protect everybody here. Sometimes I'm the only person in the office and I cannot see them all. But it's been working out. It's, we do have some hiccups here and there, but been working good. And I think this is the way where we'll continue until this is done.
Now, remind me, how many total vouchers do we get in Ossining?
We do have 254 vouchers.
254. And did you say you're not taking any new clients?
We do.
New
We are
recipients? You do.
doing- we
Okay,
do have-
so how close to the 254 are you, or have you been generally in the last year?
Well, right now, recently, we have about 240, 244. We do have about 10 vouchers available, and we are calling people. We are doing the inspections, and once they pass, we send in the paperwork to be filled out. They return it back, and they're able to move. We do have few people moving around, and we're able to accomplish all of that virtually.
Great. Now, 240 is a little lower than usual. Everything's a little different this year. You've been so close to the 254 frequently, and I know that's what you're always striving for. So what are you finding is making it more difficult to get the vouchers, to get the new people in, to keep having all the vouchers active and being utilized?
Finding apartments. Finding apartments available, and the other thing is the rents, the amounts that they are asking is tremendous. Even that we increase the payment standard higher, 10% more than the fair market rent, still is hard. It still is hard to compete. A 2-bedroom over here, they're asking $2,200 when we're paying $2,137 for a 2-bedroom. So there are some apartments that are very expensive and people are not able to lease up because they don't have the income. And the other one is the people that right now we're issuing vouchers are people from the waiting list, and these are people who have been there for a long time. That means they're people from out of Ossining that have to come here and utilize those vouchers. So that is where I'm stuck at, finding an apartment for those people that are not locally, and unfortunately it's hard to find an apartment.
Remind us while you're talking about that, because you have a couple of different categories in your list, right? So can you explain to us what that is? If somebody is in need of a home, how do they get on the list, and who has priority?
Right now, the waiting list is closed. We only calling the people who already applied many years ago. We do have 4 preferences, one being locals, family disabled, veterans, domestic violence that live or work in the village of Ossining. 2 is single individuals living or working in the village of Ossining. 3 is families, disabled, veterans not living or working in the village of Ossining. And 4 is single individuals not living in the village of Ossining. So far, we purged the waiting list recently, and we have received about 300 purge letters back. So meaning that our waiting list is getting lower and lower. Once we reach to the 100, then we will open again, and hopefully we get a lot of local people in the village of Ossining.
Now, is that 100 standard? Is that something that HUD requires of you?
No, it's not, but we cannot open a new waiting list if we still have a lot of people on the waiting list. We have to finish one in order to open the other one.
Okay. Okay,
Normally, when we get to that 100, normally those people are not interested. I mean, this is based on history, but at that point, when you get 100 people, you could start opening, because you're not going to call right away. It's going to take at least 3 to 4 months. And between those 3 to 4 months, before you issue someone from the new list, you have to make sure the old list is completely closed. That is a HUD regulation.
Okay. So where are you now? How close to 100 are you?
Well, right now we got already like 300 letters back. So I'm thinking might stay there around 3 to 350.
So wait, you got 300 letters back.
But we still have to keep counting. So I'm like the presidential. So we still have to be counting the ones that have to come in, people who ask for extra time. So I'm expecting 25, 50 more. So it's about 350. Normally we lose about normally we lose about 100 to 100 people that never respond back and they become inactive. And that makes the waiting list lower and lower and easier to management. Plan for next year, I will learn from my experience. I will only open the waiting list for 2 weeks, so it doesn't get that big like what happened before. And hopefully, we're able to open it more often. Every 2 to 3 years, we're able to open and get, if we only do it for 2 weeks, we get only the locals, and it's easier to manage. That's my goal for the future.
Okay, so when you do open it, I know, is there, you're allowed to give preference to people who are local, which is not always true in a lot of programs. So the fact that you're allowed to do that is great, because it is something that we think is really important in Ossining, to have your office to be able to address the needs of people who live here in Ossining. So I'm glad that you're able to give that preferential treatment. And so you're just gonna, as soon as you get down to that 100, you're gonna open it up, and how will people know that they can apply, that they can get their name on the magical list?
That will be published in the local newspaper. We also use we post it through the board meetings, and it gets locally. We advertise it. We go to different institutions like Open Doors, like CAP. We go and let them know ahead of time, hey, we're going to open the waiting list. So the library, if it's open, and like this, we kind of keep it locally, but I don't know how it always get national. We have people from Hawaii applying, but we try to keep it locally.
Well, I can certainly understand why someone who lives in Hawaii would want to move to Austin. It is a really great program you run there.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for all of that insight. And I will just look around the screen and see if any of my colleagues have any more questions for Marilyn.
I do. Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Marilyn. Thanks for all the hard work that you've been doing for our community itself. One thing that I guess I wanted to ask you if there's a possibility, and I kind of briefly talked to Karen a couple of weeks back, and I kind of bounced around some of the ideas. I am the liaison for the landlord tenant. One of the things that we've been talking about, some of the stuff is like how to reach out to tenants and obviously landlords through different services that, like this whole part of the COVID situation has come out, what is the rights of a tenant? What is the rights of a landlord, and the situations like that when a lot of people lost their jobs. One of the things that I briefly talked to them last night and our monthly meeting was maybe we should just provide some additional information out there to be part of our website. And one of the things that I talked to Karen is maybe Section 8 office and the landlord tenant kind of work together to kind of communicate a bigger message to our community and kind of educate landlords, about the different programs that we have, about the program that you run, Section 8 part, and kind of, because you said you have a lot of problems with, landlords not having the availability of apartments, and obviously the rents being high. So maybe, and I didn't see any, I saw a lines for training, but maybe we can work something where, we put something together as an informative package to our community. Again, the tenant, landlord, and your office. So I want to kind of bring that idea to you and see what you think. And, it will be something that you'll be interested to work with them, hopefully the beginning of next year, maybe the end of this year, beginning of next year, so we can start advertising this and, go into a community as a bigger informative piece, I guess.
I would love that. I do need partners, especially when we're trying to benefit the tenants, the participants, and if this is going to help, yes, I'm willing to do it. It would be very nice if we do that, because most of the time I'm the one who's doing all the advertising and calling the landlords and things like that to see if they want to participate. But if I get a partner that could help me with that, perfect. Most of the time is right now, resources are very limited. So I only have neighbors links, keeping community safe. And I also have the CAP, which is the ones that helps a lot. But if Landlords and Tenants Organization Association, I'm sorry if I always skip their name, perfect, that would be great.
Yeah, no, it's actually a village. Yeah, it's a village voluntary group of people. So it is obviously they represent, from landlords to tenants to neither. So it's a voluntary group that obviously a lot of the work may fall under probably Maddie, Jamie's lab at some point, and kind of putting stuff together, and obviously Section 8's office. So yeah, that is really exciting. So I'm gonna talk to them back, and probably Karen, Maddie, and Jamie, we can talk about some of the ideas offline and kind of start putting stuff together, hopefully, and kind of figure it out. How do we do? Will this work next year? And hopefully, I'm not gonna put you in the spot, but we do have one more meeting, I believe, next month, but definitely for next year, I think it'd be helpful for you to be part of one of the meetings and kind of just give them a little bit more of an insight in what it's actually Section 8 office does. And maybe you can, just kind of introduce yourself to the group and be like, look, this is, what we do, and kind of put things in a little bit of perspective. So I'm not sure, maybe the last meeting of this year, but definitely next year, I think will be helpful.
Yeah, let me know. Today we could communicate through Zoom, and it's the best thing ever. We could do that. If I'm not,
Oh yeah. No,
we do it virtually, and that's great. It's been working fantastic.
yeah, no, that's all our Zoom, all our meetings are being through Zoom. So yes, no, of course.
Marilyn, I think this, thank you, Trustee Quesada. This connects an important line of communication. And we've been talking on and off for a long time about not only reaching out to residents who need housing, but landlords as well as an option of providing housing, and talking about some of the benefits of Section 8, because landlords who have Section 8 tenants right now, if those tenants lose their job, they're still getting paid. That's like a huge win. And there are a lot of things that working, having a rental property and working with this program, there are really tremendous advantages, not only to residents, but to landlords as well. And I really don't think there's enough awareness of how strong this program is for landlords to provide not only affordable housing for residents, but stability for themselves as well. And many landlords are small landlords who, if their tenants don't pay the rent, their incomes are compromised as well. So a lot of pluses here.
Yeah, we could get together a campaign in which we promote that we do have decent families, because most of the landlords think that, oh, Section 8, it's not good tenant. No, we do have a large percent of clients, and Karen, we know, we do have a percentage that don't follow, but we do have a larger percentage that are very good tenants and keep the apartments and pay their share of the rent on time. That misconception that because they're Section 8, they're bad, we have to address that and fix it.
Yeah, and Section 8 in Ossining, a lot of the people who take advantage of this program, many of them work in Ossining, and they perform what we know now are essential worker jobs, whether they're in retail supermarkets or in the school district, in the healthcare profession, home health aides. Like, there's so many really important jobs that became more important during COVID, and those jobs just don't pay enough for somebody to live anywhere in Westchester County. So not only is it a very stable resident base, in the event, and it is somewhat unlikely that you do have a difficult tenant, you have a lot of leverage with working with a Section 8 program, because a voucher is also at risk, not just your apartment. A lot of things that people, Marilyn is right. The program has some real misconceptions that are hard to fight, but one of the best rental programs I know for both residents and property owners to deal with the issues of affordability in a really constructive way that's a win-win for both.
Thank you, Marilyn. And Manny, I'm really glad you brought that up. Marilyn would be a really great resource for the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council to understand the program. And it didn't even occur to me how beneficial it could be for communicating with the landlord population. That's great. That's why I love budget meetings. We're not even talking about budget numbers. We're just getting to talk to Marilyn in a little more of a relaxed environment. Thanks, Marilyn.
Thanks.
If there are no other questions, then Marilyn gets to go in and enjoy the rest of her day doing her job.
Yes.
Without being on camera with us.
Yes. Thank you. Take care.